Our front garden is still looking pretty colourful. Californian poppies, yellow cosmos. These amaryllis were not quite open when our last NGS opening happened, and I was quite glad of that, knowing that they were going to open bright pink against a yellow background. So we just had the yellow of the cosmos along with the blue of the um, agapanthus. This is the earlier of the two forms of amaryllis that we have. It's done very well this year. Agapanthus Northern Star is an exceptionally good agapanthus. Very, very good colour, very free flowering, and the flowers last for probably twice as long as just about any other variety that we have around the garden. The cosmos were planted out to fill in the bare ground that is left by the leafless amaryllis through the summer. I didn't want anything too dense because it would stop the sun ripening the bulbs. Combination seems to have worked pretty well. They've flowered more freely this year than they've ever done before. Another interesting plant out the front in a pot. This is Eucomis aloa cona, that's an American raised hybrid with Vandermeei in the parentage. And these dark flowers, quite short, about a foot tall. Coming around the back of the house, let's take this little path that goes up between the greenhouses. Most people miss it. Goes up the side of the garden between a lot of spring flowering camellias and leads to my what I call my one tree woodland, the one really shady area in the garden under a large oak tree. It's an area that's hemmed in, so it's quite difficult to take photographs in it. You can never get back far enough. Looking down from above in dappled light, reasonably attractive. Not a great deal happening at this time of year. I've taken to growing a lot of begonias because they fill in this late season gap. This is one known as U614. It was collected in 2012 by Michael Wickenden of Cully Gardens, and he gave it the name Sycamensis, but it proved not to be. So, as with other unidentified begonias, it's been given just a number. This is the original plant which I've had growing outdoors in the garden for many years. I do often lift some of it as well to overwinter, just as a precaution. And it sets seed, and these two plants here are seedlings. And these are female flowers. You can see the developing seed pod behind the flower, highly asymmetric, so that it catches the wind and disturbs it and distributes the seeds. One of the seedlings very similar to the original one, the other one lacking the silveriness. Out underneath the bamboo, there's several more begonias, of which a particular favourite is this one, which is Colesii. I picked this up, I think, at Tremenere Plant Fair. And this is an intriguing one in that it produces little plantlets in the middle of the leaves. So the leaves break down and drop to the ground, and this little plantlet is then left free to grow independently of the original plant. The leaf stalks, very attractively pink, red spotted, not had flowers on it yet. Moving on then, ducking under the bamboo. The paths get a bit overgrown this time of year. Push past Miscanthus September rot and up to Sue's glass house. We won't go in there this time. Not a lot flowering at this time of year. There's a lot of overspill, all of which has got to go back in again for the winter. The canna up the left here is Canna Turkheimii, which I grew from seed sown in the spring last year, so they're just 2 years old, flowering for the first time. And then we move on past the glasshouse to the Dahlia patch. The clashy pink here is provided by Crinum. Dahlia's starting to flower quite freely now. Canna Cleopatra at the back there. The trellis on the right here was put up to screen us from our neighbours and furnished with fuchsia, lady in black, and a number of clematis. Coming down to Camellia Charles Colbert, and then we hang a left and go through the archway. China Cloa rubra just there. The shrub here is Indigofera pendula. Behind it, Hydrangea Vanille Fraise, several Cleomes. Grass on the left is Miscanthus Morning Light. We move on round to a group of containerised plants, Plectranthus argentatus, which we bed out every year, and Eucomis sparkling burgundy, loud begonia. My Moonbeckia Astonii is looking very unwell. I'm hoping it will survive and I can cut it down and it will grow again. Back down towards the house. Astelia Chitalica, Rhodochyton on the obelisk there. Euphorbia mellifera. And this rather interesting and attractive hydrangea. This is one called Izu no Hana, and it's a wild collected double flowered form from Japan. And it has that, it's got the interest of the double flowers, but the lightness, as it were, of a wild plant. Not big and blousy and lumpen like a lot of the macrophylla varieties are. Interestingly, even the little fertile florets in the middle of the flowers are double. On around, more grasses to push through. This is Molinia transparent. China Cloa rubra. Indigofera largely over now. Underneath it is this plumbago, the Ceratostigma plumbaginoides, the beautiful blue flower. I've seen it colour extremely well, but the foliage colour extremely well, but it hasn't done for me yet. Cornwall is not a good place for autumn colour. Back down through the middle of the sort of a circular bit of the garden, past the yew tree. My very busy shredder. And the sun came out briefly. That's it for August.